recruiters are like inundated with CVs, and then it's more difficult to cut through the noise. For us, we're using AI to help alleviate those challenges. We want to be able to take away like repetitive tasks, things like using AI for note taking, meeting summaries, research, all of that work that could usually take maybe days, maybe weeks. It can take an hour now. You can utilize those platforms to find really good insight into the clients you're working with. You can use meeting summaries to build really good candidate packs and to be able to advise clients on interview questions and how to interview. So there's so much more information that we're able to provide to clients and to candidates to help smooth that recruitment process. I think for us, AI is all about allowing our consultants to spend more time going out to meet with their candidates and meet with their clients face to face. Now we want people within research and recruitment consultants to be able to go out there and to be in their networks and not like stuck doing tons of admin and those repetitive tasks.
Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where I go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Matt Domaine, the Director of Sales at Research. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey. What made you get into the business? And give us an overview of what your role looks like today at Research.
Yeah, cool. So I've spent the last 16 years in recruitment, and it's mainly been focused on hiring for go-to-market hires. I started my career actually in sales, and I was selling media and advertising, and then did that for about 3 years before a recruitment agency asked me to join them to come on board. So it's been a real roller coaster of being involved in that sales business for such a long period of time. I started hiring for like marketing and advertising sales roles. It's now evolved more into hiring for tech. And I'm mainly working with like fast growth startups. The business I'm at now is a company called Research. We're a global exec search firm, and I focus on all of their go-to-market hires for the UK and Europe.
How long now have you been with Research?
Coming up to 2 years. Yeah, blown by.
And did you enjoy the transition from sales to recruiting people for sales?
Yeah, that's a really good question itself. Yeah, I was doing a sales job that was very transactional, and I found it just a little bit mundane, and I thought, right, let's try and find a job which is more multifaceted, loads of stuff going on. And when I went to interview with this recruitment company, they were like, look, if you want a job which is like spinning many, many plates, then this is the one for you. Again, it's very, very different. We're dealing with people, and people change their mind, and people act in ways which you might not have expected. So yeah, it's very different.
It sounds more interesting as well. Do you know what I mean? Not just honed in on one thing. Like you said, spinning many plates is obviously something that keeps you interested, doesn't it? Keep you occupied as well.
Yeah.
So just to like go into like operations, could you walk me through like what your day to day is like for Research, like how you deliver for clients?
Yeah, cool. So like day to day, it is pretty simple. It's the wonderful thing about recruitment. It's quite simple. We just work really, really closely with customers. Want to understand, what kind of hires they're looking to do, what their plans are for growth, what kind of candidates they're looking for. We'll take them through how realistic that is to find that candidate. And then we're out there in market, and that's finding the right talent for them. That's mapping the market, finding those candidates, building that network either through the networks that we have or going out to market and headhunting and finding new talent. And then it's managing the process. And that process is sometimes quite long, especially in this market. It can take quite a while. I think recruitment for me is always like, it's always about managing the small things. There's lots and lots of small things that you have to be on top of. Then it's looking after those candidates, looking after those clients, and really taking care of all of those finer details.
So just to like unpack it a little bit more for people that are watching that potentially don't know what, exactly what it is. How do you actually recruit? Do you do like outreach? Do you message people? Do you message, or do you try and speak out to like firms, or how do you actually get people, candidates to your clients?
Yeah, cool. So For finding candidates, there'll be two main ways. There'll be our own networks that we've built up over time. So we'll have those candidates that we'll go to, and that will be able to find talent quite quickly through those networks. And then we'll go out and headhunt, and that will be using platforms like LinkedIn to find those candidates who could be right, and approaching those candidates and talking to them about opportunities that they might not have even thought that they wanted. As a business as well, like for research, we do tons of investment into marketing. So we'll do lots of roundtables, we do lots of breakfasts, we do lots of events. And we find that's a really, really strong way of being able to build up those candidate pools. So if a client comes to us, rather than us needing to go out and find the candidates, we can already know who could be right for that hire before it even starts.
And when you said people that are already in your network, is that people that you've either reached out to or they've reached out to you, that they're sort of like in your network, that you know that they're potentially looking for work or something like that?
Yeah, that's the great thing about being recruiting for so long. Like a lot of the candidates that I dealt with 16 years ago when I started in recruitment, I still speak to now. So any good recruiter is always about building that candidate network, and it's making sure that you're keeping in touch with people, making sure that you're aware of their situation. Good people usually want to be kept aware of opportunities, even if they're not looking. And you want to call them and be like, look, I think I've got this role. There's a cool company. They're launching. They're scaling. Could this be something of interest? So yeah, it's being able to utilize that network.
Client relations or candidate relations, however you want to word it, is obviously imperative, because the more better relationship you keep with these people over a longer time, the more chance that you're going to be able to find them for your new clients, I suppose, find people for your new clients.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is like because I've been in this job for such a long period of time as well. A lot of people who I worked with 16 years ago, who might have been like a graduate starting, are now in senior positions, and they've gone through that whole journey of like candidate to client, back to candidate, back to client. So building that network, it allows you to be real front of mind with people.
Definitely. So Matt, where, if anywhere, are 3Search using AI like inside the business?
Look, AI has had a massive impact within 3Search, but within recruitment as well. It's had a really big impact on like how much more challenging it is for candidates, to stand out for when they're applying for roles. Recruiters are like inundated with CVs, and then it's more difficult to cut through the noise. For us, we're using AI to help alleviate those challenges. We want to be able to take away like repetitive tasks, things like using AI for note taking, meeting summaries, research, all of that work that could usually take maybe days, maybe weeks. It can take an hour now. You can utilize those platforms to find really good insight into the clients you're working with. You can use meeting summaries to build really good candidate packs and to be able to advise clients on interview questions and how to interview. So there's so much more information that we're able to provide to clients and to candidates to help smooth that recruitment process. I think for us, AI is all about allowing our consultants to spend more time going out to meet with their candidates and meet with their clients face to face. Now we want people within 3Search and recruitment consultants to be able to go out there and to be in their networks and not like stuck doing tons of admin and those repetitive tasks.
And how, if are you using like automation then to help you like alleviate the repetitive task, or is it more sort of like everyone's sort of using their own sort of AI or ChatGPT or any LLM, or do you have it sort of like systemized to actually run in the background type of thing?
Yeah, great question itself. So we are currently going through Copilot. We're a Microsoft business, so we use Microsoft platforms, and we're currently using Copilot both to look at ways to how do we standardize that. When we first started, it was people were pretty much using their own chat GPTs, their own Claudes, but we're looking at a way to be able to streamline that. As a company, we invest a lot within AI, sit on like the AI group where we're talking about the ways that we can integrate it, and we're always looking at like, how do we streamline that. So from Copilot, we'll be looking at how do we bring in different workflows and how do we streamline those workflows so everybody can utilize Copilot in the same way. Some people are quite AI native and really keen to use it, and some people hate it and don't want to go anywhere near it. So as a company, it's looking like how do we standardize those workflows. I think there's always a individualism that people can use, and bring that into the day, but you want to have like a streamlined process for how do we work with a candidate, how do you work with a client, and it's brought into a way that represents both you as a consultant, but also Freesearch as a business, and how we want to be seen working with candidates and clients.
Definitely. And how do you think AI is going to impact recruitment in general? Because, I would say it's going to, being able to alleviate them tasks that you just mentioned then is going to have a profound effect maybe on the industry itself.
Yeah, look, I think this is there's such a hot topic, isn't it? You can go on anywhere, and there's so many people talking about that. I don't think AI is the death of recruitment consultants in any way. What I hope and what I think it's going to be is actually push us back to where I think our value is, and our value is is meeting people. It's meeting people in person. It's understanding them. It's going so much more deeper into like their motivators, their values, and then working with clients to give them actual real advice on like how to hire, what they need to benchmark, and provide that data and that insight that, as I said, would have taken ages, but can now be done in such a fast and quick way that you can provide real value. So that's where I see the market changing. It's moving away from like transactional recruitment, where it's just about my ability to find you a CV, and it's moving to a way where it's still my ability to find you a CV, but here's my ability to actually consult you. Here's my ability to give you that added value, both if you're a candidate and you're looking for a job, or if you're a client and you're working out, what kind of sales hire do I need to make? Maybe I'm a founder and I have no idea. How do I build a GTM? And I need somebody to help give me advice and guidance that's wedded in actual data and actual insight. And I think everyone, and in recruitment now, you've got the ability to be able to build those data sets and then provide that insight as well.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of like if you can take away the work that's like, like reading through CVs, the kind of like the grunt work that a lot of recruiters will have to do as part of the job. If you can take that away, then you can leverage that to be able to, use them for higher strategic tasks, isn't it? Like as you just mentioned then, like, and I'm sure a lot of people in recruitment spend a lot, or were spending a lot of time doing the kind of like the admin-y kind of things. Do you know what I mean? The things that machines can do now. Similar to like sales, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you can just keep the salesperson on closing, they're going to do a much better job than after having to do like prospecting and all these other tasks that kind of come with the job, but it's not the actual thing that moves the needle.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely you want recruitment consultants, you want salespeople, you want them to be focused on like revenue generating activities, and you want to take away the stuff which is repetitive. And there's a lot of every job is repetitive. And there's a lot of recruitment which is. It's like writing a job ad, writing a briefing pack. These are repetitive, but you can utilize AI now to construct that. And if you're using AI in the right way, it can understand your tone of voice. It can understand how you want to be perceived, and it can create that information for you that's really personalized. It's in such a quick way. So our aim is to be able to get to that point, where consultants are able to be out meeting with candidates, meeting with clients, going for breakfasts, hosting events. That's where I think recruitment's going to move to. Companies need to be evolving, and they need to be seen to really live within their networks. Like generalist recruitment, I feel is very challenging. If you're a generalist, then it's going to be very difficult, because where is the added value? But if you specialize in building out fast growth B2B businesses, and you've got case studies like we have, we can talk through those, and we know our market and we know sales, then there's a real value. And there you've got to look at it and go, well, how can I bring more data to that? How can I actually enhance that value? Like, what's the data that I have in my CRM? Can I integrate that into different AI platforms? And then can I really, really provide actual insight? So it's not just like using the word generalist again, but it's not just generalist feedback or advice. It's actually really, really clear insight wedded in like reality of what's happening. Then that helps like clients be able to hire, because then they're making decisions based on what they know about the market before maybe they're even going to hire. So they know what kind of salary benchmarking, what kind of job titles to have, things, what's the candidate pool, how large that candidate pool is. So there's so much value that's there.
Well, I think you've just touched on two things that I think are so important with AI. I think standardizing the grunt work, like reporting, all these types of proposals, All these types of things that machines can do. But also, I think that that's really important. But also, I think the second thing that's equally important is data. If you can utilize data with I think the outputs are like on steroids, basically. Do you know what I mean? You're actually going to be able to, instead of actually reading through data like a spreadsheet or anything like that, being able to actually use AI to be able to read the data and output and being able to provide that to clients. Like you said, you're running on facts, you're running on data that you have gained. Every company has its own data set. No two companies are going to have the exact same data set, and you're going to be, companies then going to be able to say from our own data, this is what we have seen, and this is what we think. And I think that's a real high leverage thing that you can do with AI.
Yeah, 100%. And a great point with that is note takers. Note takers, I think, have been a massive game changer because you're able to analyze your interviews. So if we're meeting with a candidate or with a client, we can analyze that interview. We can work out what questions we maybe didn't ask. What questions do we need to ask? What information do we need to delve into? And that just gives you so much more of a foundation. I don't think it takes away your need for you to actually know what you're asking or what you're saying. You can't just rely on AI completely, but it enhances your ability to get information, and then you can use that information to build out those data sets in a way that you can then really take advantage of, how I'm looking for candidates and where you're looking for clients as well.
Yeah, well, definitely. It allows you not to have to listen to or be on a 45-minute call and have to remember every single thing that somebody said.
Yes.
The details, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can obviously have the gist, do you know what I mean? But to have the exact words that they said as well, and being able to, because some people might say two things with slightly different wording and it can mean different. They could, their actual, what they want is slightly different, do you know what I mean? And you can see the actual onus that they're putting on it, and being able to go back over that, I think, is invaluable, like you said. So, Matt, what is working well, and where do you feel slight friction in research?
So I think the AI note takers, as I mentioned, have been great. That's just been such a good way to be able to record all of those information that you're gathering from like candidates and clients that's there. We've got ours integrated also with our CRM system. Most recruiters do not like using a CRM system. They don't like putting that data entry in, and it's a way that we can just instantly record that information. So that's been great. I think one of the challenges that we have is there are so many platforms. There are so many platforms that you can use. It's working out, right, what do you use, and then what parts of recruitment do you look to standardize and bring into workflows? Because the option you can take at the very beginning is to try and do everything that's there. So it's looking at like, where do we bring AI into the business? How do we utilize that? How do you standardize that? And how do you make it into a way that's really easy for people to come in when they're coming into free search? They know exactly how I need to use these platforms, what I can get out of them, and how they can benefit them in the long run.
Definitely, and I think you're right there. Some people or some companies, do you mean the easy way to start is like, oh, we need to do it all, and it's never the right thing to do. I don't think. Do you know what I mean? It's maybe little by little is like maybe a little bit underselling it a little bit, but finding the core things that get repeatedly done all the time. Do you know what I mean? And that can be automated in the background without somebody technically having to do it. Like it runs like similar to what you've done with the note taking. You take the call. After the call, it gets put into the CRM. It's taken away that manual task of being able to do it, and finding tasks like that, similar to like research, reporting, that happens all the time, to be able to actually get that being done in the background, I feel like is a great start. And, and it's not so overwhelming then, because you're not having to teach people, right? This is what you have to do on this new tool, because tool overwhelm is so real in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself using one AI platform to tell me how to use another AI platform, and then using a different AI platform to create a deck of it. And I'm like, oh, I've used 3 AI platforms to do one task. I don't know if that's more efficient or less efficient. So, it's so easy to get sort of swamped with all of this stuff that you can use. So I think the key friction and the key area to look at and go, right, how do you utilize AI in the right place is first of all going, well, what are we using it for? How does that make sense, and what do we want to get out of it? I think if you can get those questions all answered, then it allows you to implement any type of product into a business in the right way.
And finding out where people are spending a lot of their time, like consultants or recruiters, like where do they spend a lot of their time that's outside of client relationships and consulting. And I feel like, being able to actually pinpoint that somebody spends 3 hours a week doing this, do you know what I mean? If you multiply that across the whole workforce, then do you know what I mean? And being able to actually see that that's where a time drain is and how can we alleviate that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And then I feel that there's so much more of added value that you can give to candidates and clients as well, because you can record so much information. You have an access to like so much more information, so you can give a real added value to candidates and clients to have a better experience as well.
Yeah, and ultimately that is the bottom line, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Being able to AI is great, it makes us being able to work more efficiently, but what does that equal? That equals, well, what it should equal is, giving the client the better experience as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So Matt, where do you want to be in terms of business in the next 12 to 18 months?
Um, It's pretty simple, to be honest with you. We want to get to a place where AI is embedded into the business, so those workflows are there. So then our consultants are able to go out and invest that time meeting with their candidates, meeting with their clients, building those communities. I think that if a recruitment agency is not looking at how do they bring AI into the company, and if they're not looking at how do we automate tasks, then they may fall behind because everyone else is going to be out there front of mind. And that's what we want to get to. Get to the point where our consultants are out there speaking to candidates, speaking to clients, living in their communities. Really,
What do you think is going to happen to recruitment agencies that aren't sort of looking that forward, or trying to utilize AI as aggressively as you are?
yeah. I mean, it's a good question. Do you want to sort of generalize for how other companies might do? But I feel that it's with all technology, isn't it? That if you don't adapt it, the market will adapt around you, and you are going to be playing catch up. And what could take you a couple of hours to do could take someone else 10 minutes to do. So it is a challenge. I think that with any technology, you want to be on the front foot and looking how do we utilize that, but retaining yourself as a business and retaining your values. Because if you just think, well, I can just sit back and just use AI is going to recruit and it will do everything, then that's not the case. But if you're looking at it and going, well, look, how do we make our recruitment consultants better? How do we allow them to have more time so they can be out with candidates, out with clients, really invested? Then I think that's the right way to go around things, which is the exact same as sales. It's not going to automate stuff. It is going to automate a lot of tasks, but by doing that, it should free up our time as people to spend where we really want to spend that time.
Totally agree. I feel like with the AI era, you should get machines doing what machines are really good at, and then that allows humans to do what humans are really good at. I don't feel like the human brain is necessarily made for data in, data out, and tasks like that, but relationships, communications, and all this type of thing, machines cannot replicate. And that is what humans, I feel like, are built for.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then that's exactly what I think recruitment is, because it's a people job. We are dealing with people. Finding a job or making a hire is a really personal decision. There is logic behind it, obviously, but a lot of it comes down to like personality and that how you gut feel about either hiring somebody or joining a company. So as for recruitment consultants can spend more time talking to people and understanding that away from admin, then hopefully you're enabling better decisions to be made.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's like, the more decisions you give somebody as well, like you said, the best decisions you're going to get is when you don't have to make so many of them. Do you mean if you've got to make, I think as Zuckerberg says it, he wears a plain t-shirt every day because he doesn't have to make a decision on that every single day. And I feel like that, where the more decisions you have to give somebody, the less quality them decisions are going to be by the end of the day. If you can just alleviate these and focus on the actual ones that move the needle, that make a difference, like client, speaking to clients, consulting, and strategy work, the results are going to be so much better, as opposed to them having to do 20 decisions before that around admin and chasing and all these other things.
Yeah, 100%.
So my last question is, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in the business, what would it be and why?
I feel like I'm repeating myself, so apologies. But
Okay.
it really is like, how do we take the time away from consultants where they're spending on like non-revenue making work? It's looking at it and going, how can we just speed up that process so you are able to be out in market that's there. I think probably the only other thing area as well, I'd say it's in that communication. Look, one of the biggest challenges, again, you can see it posted everywhere. One of the biggest challenges with people finding jobs in this market is they're feeling that they're not hearing back from candidates, or they're not hearing back from clients, sorry, when they're applying for a job. So I think another area where AI can be really used, and that sort of magic wand question would be like in that communication, is making sure that we're able to get back to every single candidate that gets in touch with us. So we can either use Copilot, we can integrate with your emails, and you can look at it and be like, okay, these are the people you need to get back to, these are the calls you need to do, and just make things more efficient. So we are spending less time on admin, able to communicate with all of our candidates and clients to get back to us, and making sure that conversation is still going ahead, and they're not feeling like they're being ghosted or anyone's disappeared, and just making things more efficient.
Yeah. Like, following up or replying to keeping the client relationships going. I feel like it's a hard thing to keep on top of, isn't it, as a human? Do you know what I mean? When you might have, I don't know, you might have 20 of them. Do you know what I mean? And it's a hard thing to keep on top of when you have other things to do as well. And it is a simple message back, isn't it? It's not like it needs to think too much. It's just a simple message back, but it actually means, and it goes so far.
Yeah, 100%. Like, again, finding a job is a personal decision. If you're out there and you're applying for jobs and you're in a situation where you really need work and you don't hear back from recruitment agencies, it is disheartening and it is very frustrating. Hopefully we can utilize things like Copilot to make sure that doesn't happen, to make sure we're not dropping the ball, to make sure that you're able to get back to people and just give them dialogue, so that they're not feeling like they're being ignored. And then that all in hand goes with like in creating a more positive candidate experience. And I think that's really, really important. I feel that making sure that we're using AI to enhance a candidate experience is great. By doing that, as a business, you'll make more money. So it is a revenue making job that's there, but it's doing it in a way which is focused on that candidate experience, because then it's a win-win for everybody, really.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. I've loved our conversation. Where can people reach out to you or 3Search if they're wanting to potentially work with you, or become a client or a candidate?
So best way to find me is find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on the 3Search website, or onto LinkedIn. I'm always happy to get back to people.
Perfect. Well, everybody, that's us done for today. Please like, comment, subscribe, send to a friend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Matt.
No worries.